So my firefighter is Curtis Dewayne Brown, and he was my father. And he was a man of great character. He was really spontaneous. I know, like, one time I come home and he has, like, this brand new motorcycle when he already had a motorcycle. So I think that's funny. He really liked dancing and driving and going to the sand dunes. He was really cool. So his brother was actually a firefighter. So I like to describe my dad a lot like Jesus. Jesus was called on earth to serve, and I believe that's what firemen are called to be. And so my dad served selflessly, and he died for people, just like Jesus did. He didn't just go fight fires or save someone from a wreck who he thought was appropriate to save. He saved everyone. I think that's why he became a firefighter, is because that's who he is. So my dad was a fire chief, like I had mentioned, and so his big thing was everyone getting along. He doesn't think that you can work with someone, especially when it comes to people's lives, if you aren't close with the people you're serving with. So he was the chief of a small fire department, and he made sure that everyone got along. Brotherhood was very important to him. The Delhart Fire Department was family. They loved each other. They're tight-knit. You know, I was raised there, and a lot of kids were too. Not only was my dad my parent, but I also had a lot of other people who looked after me. That's how the Delhart Volunteer Fire Department was. So when my dad passed away, I was actually away at college. So my whole life it's just been me, my stepmom, and my dad in like a house. My siblings are all way older, so it was only us. And so when I got the call that my dad died, the first thing that I was worried about was my mom, my stepmom. She was by herself in, dealing with that grief. But not only was the Delhart Fire Department there for her, but we have neighboring communities that were also there for her. So I couldn't have been more grateful for a community than that, especially for her in that instance. I lived 2 hours away, and a firefighter's son came and picked me up to bring me to the funeral home. So, yeah. They often tell me that I'm a lot like him. So he loved playing pranks, and he loved making people laugh. If you had a bad day, he'd make you laugh. He had these fireworks, these giant fireworks poppets that he'd throw at the fire station, and he'd just scare everyone. And so everyone always is oh, you're just like your dad. I often get called little Curtis, because we're the exact personality, the exact same. And so I often get told how good of a man he was, and how funny he was, and how a lot of people miss him, miss being able to laugh when they need it. So, a friend. I want them to remember him as someone who would go at their begging call, because that's who he was. Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays that are meant to spend with family, he went and he helped other people. That's who he was, and that's who I hope everyone remembers him as, is a friend. My hero. I'm going to remember my dad as my hero, my best friend. So that's who he is. Yeah, I have a couple, but this is one of my favorites, just to describe who my dad was. So like I said, me and my dad were the exact same. So we're both very dramatic. And so whenever we got in arguments, it'd always be blah, blah, blah. It would just us arguing to a brick wall, because we're the exact same person. And then one time, I called him dramatic in front of his friends at the fire department, and he got so mad at me that we went home, and he didn't talk for me for 24 hours. And I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, and he's sitting on the chair that's literally 10 feet away. And he gets on his phone and he goes, "Hey Siri, text Hannah, we're leaving at 6:30. So although he refused to talk to me because I embarrassed him, but he would tell Siri. And so I think that's funny. That's one of my favorite stories of him. So something that makes him unique, and I think it's almost every firefighter has, but it's a really cool mustache. My dad had the coolest mustache in the whole world. Like, I remember coming home one day and I was like, did you always have the mustache? And he's like, dude, I've literally raised you for the last like 17 years of your life. Yes, I've had this mustache, but his mustache definitely made him unique, and his laugh. And every day he would drink 2 Monsters a day. So that's what makes my dad unique. He was definitely like the greatest thing to happen to me. So my parents got divorced when I was little, and the only thing I really remember is that my dad never left me. There were times when my dad didn't eat dinner so he could feed me. I was like 2 years old. My dad would literally give someone the shirt off of his back, even if it meant he didn't have one anymore. If he was struggling financially, but someone he loved was also, he would give him his money. So, like I said, he's a lot like Jesus, and I think that's why he's easy to love. I think of a lot, but I'd have to say like the main thing is definitely how like he made me feel safe. So that's hard to find, especially like in a world that we live in. I grew up with like brothers and my dad, and it was just us, and you know, he was pretty cool. And so the word that comes to me is safe. That's how I feel about my dad.
Here's to you, with that smile on your face. Here's to you, and what I want to raise to this moment we share.